For some unknown reason, I've been looking at a very old TV series that actually used to be on Nick Jr. back in the day. It wasn't your average Nick Jr. show like Dora the Explorer, Blue's Clues, or Ni Hao Kai Lan. Not even Paw Patrol. You see, the name of the show is called Holly, Hobbie, and Friends. For summary, here's some information I grabbed off Wikipedia. Holly Hobbie is a 10-year-old girl from a big city. She often visits her best friends Amy Morris and Carrie Baker in the small country town called Clover. The special feature themes like friendship, dreams, music, and aspirations. I guess my inspiration for my interest in this series was when I went to my local pawn shop, and I just happened to find a DVD copy of the episode Christmas Wishes. This isn't what I mean exactly. There was apparently a lost episode from the series that happens to traumatize me. Whenever I think about it, it makes me wish I instantly regret knowing everything from what that terrifying special has to offer. It was July 26th of 2024. I was having a grand day out with my dad and his good friend Eric. We visited several furniture stores since my dad was building a reception stand at his workplace. He was looking for a particular set of chairs. Then after we finished that, we went to Johnny Rockets for lunch, and then we saw Deadpool and Wolverine at AMC Kent Station 14 in Kent, Washington. As soon as the movie finished, we drove down to a half-price books in Tacoma, also located in Washington. This was my favorite place to look for great movies, since they had a big load of them on VHS, DVD, or Blu-ray. While searching for the DVDs and VHS tapes I wanted to buy, I found something oddly familiar at the children's DVD section. Next to a Baby Einstein book was a box set of Holly and Hobbie and Friends. Apparently, it was a collection of all 8 episodes in the series. To my surprise, this box was set only $10, which was nice considering the Baby Einstein box was like $30. On the cover of the box set, it said it includes a never-before-seen episode made exclusively for DVD. I wanted to buy it along with some DVD copies of Kung Fu Panda, Robin Hood, Mary Poppins, Aladdin, Chicken Run, and some others I bought. After our grand day out, me and my dad headed home for the day. I figured that I would watch Holly and Hobbie DVD tomorrow morning because it was getting late and I'm pretty much an early bird when I get up in the morning, so I decided to go to sleep. The next morning I decided that the first DVD I would watch was that Holly and Hobbie box set. I took a look at the DVDs that came with the set and noticed one that looked oddly interesting. This DVD cover consists of Holly, Amy, and Carrie in the exact same pose as the one used in Best Friends Forever, standing in front of what looked like a house that didn't seem to be the traditional animation used in the show. The DVD was called Holly, Hobbie, and Friends, The Mysterious House. Some errors I noticed about the cover art was that there were some spots that were still from Best Friends Forever, but I shrugged it off and I inserted the disc into my PS4 with excitement and laid back down on my bed. The DVD started with the Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logo, Sony Wonder logo, and American Greetings logo. And then the previews came on, which were trailers for Sir Sub, Open Season, Spider-Man Free, and other Holly Hobbie DVDs. As soon as the previews were finished, it directed me to the main menu, which showed the exact same house as seen on the front cover. The house was a 2-story place with 4 windows, and some of the wallpaper were torn. It was also extremely dark atmosphere from what I saw. The options included play, chapter, selection, photo gallery, previews. I selected play before the intro played. A warning came up and said, "The following episode of Holly, Hobbie, and Friends you are about to see contains sequences of disturbing nature and extremely dark atmospheres. If you have any children in the room, it is important that you send them to their room, as this is clearly not for kids. You've been warned." So then the intro came on, and it was absolutely normal with no changes at all. The episode started with a shot of the school, and then it panned to the inside of the classrooms. Holly and her friends, Amy and Carrie, were having a discussion about what they were going to dress up for Halloween. "So, what are you guys going to be as for Halloween?" "For me, I'm going to be a detective," Holly said. "I'm going as Zorro," said Amy. "And I'm going as a movie star," said Carrie. Justin, the teacher, who is male person, got everyone's attention so he can make an announcement. For his announcement was a Thanksgiving food drive that would soon be taking place after school between the 3rd of November all the way to the 7th. What's the food drive? Asked Amy. A food drive is kind of like a fundraiser. We give out food to the poor people who can't afford to buy their own food, Holly said. Ah, I see, Amy replied. The school bell rang as the classmates grabbed their backpacks and the teacher wished them all a happy Halloween and a great weekend. Holly got off the bus and walked to her home. Hey, Holly, was school any good? Holly's mother asked. Yep, I'm totally excited to go trick-or-treating tonight, Holly replied. Well, good news, I've got your costume right here, Joan said. Holly thanked her mother for the costume and proceeded to go upstairs to likely change into her costume. Robbie then came into the shot and told his mother that there was a Halloween party over at one of his friend's house, and he was wondering if he could go there since the weekend had just arrived. Joan said yes, and Robbie was happy. The next scene showed the outside of Holly's house at night as a title card showed up at the bottom saying, 3 hours later. Holly was in the middle of getting her bucket so she could store her candy there as she goes trick-or-treating with her friends. The doorbell rang and Holly went to answer it. At the front door was Amy and Carrie, dressed up in costumes that they promised to go in. Before they headed out, Joan asked if she could come along, but Holly said that they would be okay and they would return home safely. And so Holly, Amy, and Carrie went trick-or-treating while singing a song about Halloween is fun while they were going up and over people's houses for candy in the process. As I stared at the other people in the background, I saw some people dressed in costumes from Strawberry Shortcake, in which in my opinion makes both sense, since Holly Hobbie and Strawberry Shortcake were American Greetings properties. By the time Holly's song about Halloween ended, the screen faded to black for about 2 seconds. After that, it cut to another scene in which what looked like it was filmed on VHS. It depicted a poster of someone missing. The person was someone wearing what looked like a bear costume. The name was for some reason censored by a black bar. Looking at the scene, I suddenly got reminded of that one video by Martin Walls titled The Mysterious House. And sure enough, I believe I was watching a complete parody of this. It then faded back to Holly, Amy, and Carrie. As I looked at their bags, they got a lot of candy from the nice people. So what house should we go to next? Holly asked. Amy and Claire looked around for about 3 seconds, and then Amy asked, what kind of house is that? It then showed the house as seen on the DVD cover and DVD menu. That house looked very old. I don't see any lights on, and it actually looks really spooky if you ask me, Holly said. Don't be afraid, Holly. We're right beside you. Why not we go in and see if anyone's home? Carrie said. Holly sighed, and they both made their way to the house. They knocked on the door, and a woman wearing a witch costume answered. Trick or treat, Holly and her friends shouted. Why, hello, little children. Are you looking for candy? Then come in, the woman said. Holly, Amy, and Carrie proceeded to make their way in the house. The woman dressed as a witch began to introduce the 3 girls to a bunch of their friends, or possibly roommates. The first one being introduced was a man named Rico, and he was wearing a clown costume. For some reason, none of these characters were named after the original characters from, like, in The Mysterious House by Martin Walls. The next person was a man named Pitchard, and he was dressed like a cardboard TV. And then we see a main guy, the Pumpkin Rabbit, who is actually in the exact same style as the original video of the same name. Holly was glad to be welcomed by such strange people they have never met before. The Pumpkin Rabbit then invited Holly and her friends to a hallway, which showed a photo gallery of everyone who happened to come by the mysterious house for candy. After they looked at the gallery, both Holly, Amy, and Carrie told the woman that the Pumpkin Rabbit it was about time for them to go home. But then the Pumpkin Rabbit suggested that they all stay over for the night. Holly was confused and asked if it was even a good idea. The Pumpkin Rabbit told Holly, Amy, and Carrie not to fear, as they told them that they would let their parents know by this over the phone. The 3 girls then decided to agree on spending the night. The screen then faded to black for 5 seconds. Then the scene next showed was a shot of the clock that looked like a shape of a rabbit. Holly, Amy, and Carrie were already fast asleep. 10 seconds later, both Amy and Carrie woke up and got out of bed. They then discussed how they needed a glass of water, so they made their way out of the bedroom. Once again, the screen faded to black, but only this time for 3 seconds. Holly was still up at this time, but Amy and Carrie did not return. Holly also woke up and yawned in the process. She then noticed that Amy and Carrie were not near her. "Amy? Carrie?" Holly called out in a whispered tone. But then she started to hear Amy and Carrie say her name from outside the bedroom. Holly then opened the door and noticed Rico the clown was standing over near a wall in the living room. "You scared me. How long have you been there?" Holly asked. "I don't know, honestly," Rico said, "but I ask you head back to bed. It's not safe out there at night." "But Amy and Carrie are missing. I have to find them," Holly replied. Holly then walked down the hallway and heard Amy and Carrie say their name again. She opens the door as a way of thinking maybe her friends were somehow in this room. And then we see a shot of the open door, to which it led to a pitch black room. As the screen zooms in on the door, a bunch of piano notes were heard, as if it sounded like a kid banging on the piano keys. The screen goes black for about 3 seconds, and then a shot of 3 wooden doors were shown. Holly looked at both doors in frightened confusion. She makes her way to the door on the left. Nothing is in that room. As she still looks through the door, a tall figure, most likely the pumpkin rabbit, was standing right behind her. Holly then proceeded to check the other 2 doors, while the figure kept on getting more and more close to Holly. After for a bit, Holly finds what appeared to be Amy and Carrie in the pitch black hallway. She makes her way inside and looks to see if Amy and Carrie were actually in there. Holly finds them, but then a strange ghostly sound plays as Amy and Carrie turn into an extremely bloody corpse. Holly gasps in shock as the very distorted version of the song Streets of Cairo played. She then looks around the room and starts noticing a bunch of other kids' dead corpses. Holly then begins to grow tears from her eyes, and likely because of how grotesque the bodies looked. Holly dropped down to the floor on her knees, and she began to cry as the music stopped. "No, no, this is my fault. Why am I such an idiot?" Holly said in a sorrowful tone. The pumpkin rabbit then proceeded to walk closer to Holly and asked, "What are you doing here?" Holly stood up and asked, "What have you done?" "You know, wandering around the house at night is something a child should not do. I'm afraid you'll have to be punished for being a misbehaved girl," the pumpkin rabbit said. Get away from me!" Holly shouted. But unfortunately, the pumpkin rabbit grabbed her by the arm and proceeded to place her on one of those beds you'd probably find at a dentist office. "Help! Somebody help me!" Holly shouted once more. "Don't worry, little girl. You won't feel a thing, and you'll get to be with us." The pumpkin rabbit then took out a chainsaw and proceeded to walk to her slowly. In the mysterious house video, the pumpkin rabbit kills Tammy with an analog horror-like jump scare. But here he was just using it as a torture weapon. "Please don't kill me. I'm sorry for everything. I'll just go back to bed and we can forget that everything happened. I won't tell the police, not even my parents. Let me go. No, 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 no!" Holly shouted. The screen then switched to black as I can hear Holly screaming very loudly as the chainsaw was going and blood and guts being teared out. Not to be cliched or anything, but Holly was screaming sounded like her actor Alison Stoner was screaming in agony. After 10 seconds, and then cut to the most disturbing thing I've ever seen out of a Lost episode. Holly's face, legs, arms, and chest were torn off, with blood oozing, and she had her eyes ripped off, which was my eyes, chronologically impossible. Seeing this insane corpse made me felt the urge to vomit. I ran to the bathroom and threw up in the toilet. I unpaused it when I came back, and unfortunately it went to the credits that were pretty much normal. I was both disturbed and angry at the same time, because I think there could have been a scene with the investigation started by Holly's parents, in my opinion. Later that day, I would figured that it would be a good idea to smash the DVD, but there were some screenshots I wanted to get out of the episode. So I did that and quickly proceeded to smash the disc by stomping on it hard with my foot. My dad saw me outside and he asked what was going on. I told him, "This DVD has a bunch of fucked up content in it, and if I had the DVD alive, I would have shown it to you. It wouldn't be like that one bit. I really hope I can have a safe and happy Halloween without that Lost episode getting into my head." And that, my pretties, was Holly and Hobbie and Friends, The Mysterious House. A Holly and Hobbie and Friends Creepypasta written by Jenny Foxworth. My final thoughts in this story. Well, I got to say a couple of things with this story. This story was obviously pretty good despite the cliches. I personally didn't think that this story was bad. I thought it was actually pretty nice, to which it was really cool. I personally really have to say that it was a really cool story. So, with that being said and that being the case, I have never seen Holly and Hobbie before. Maybe I did when I was little, but I probably just don't remember much, if that makes sense. I think I might have might have heard of it, but I don't really know. But that's just literally something I have to really say. But other than that, I thought this story was actually quite interesting. Like, I personally liked it. Like, it was really creepy in that, but I also do have to say that it was still a really good story. Now, this is on the Spin Pasta Wiki. I'll leave a link in description, so if you guys want to go find it, you can. So there's definitely that. It's definitely a pretty good story. I personally have to say that it was definitely a really good one. I mean, I personally have not had a problem with, with this story. I honestly thought it was really good. So, the grammar of it was pretty good. I personally really enjoyed it. The sentence structuring was really good. The storyline, everything about it was just flat out really nice. I personally really liked it. So, with that being said and that being the case, I personally really thought it was enjoyable. And even though it was messed up, yes, but I personally still thought it was a really good story. I personally really enjoyed it a lot. It definitely had a lot going for it, to which I really do enjoy that a lot with this story. Yes, I know there's cliches in this story, but I'm willing to excuse most of them because they actually are pretty believable and stuff. But we all know that it's kind of impossible to write a good Lost Episode pasta without sitting there and repeating cliches. I can understand that. However, this story was actually pretty interesting and it was fun to read. Now, with that being said and that being the case, I know it's a little bit after Halloween, but with that being said, I've just been so busy trying to get, stories reread, and I had a lot going on, so yeah, that's kind of why I haven't been able to read this one sooner as I wanted to. But anyways, with that being said, like I'm always gonna say, to the author of the story, which is Jenny Foxworth, pretty good job with this story. You did a really good job. I personally really enjoyed this story a whole lot. I hope you do continue to write more stories like this, and I hope you do more stories in the future. So, with that being said, and that being the case, like I'm always going to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm going to give this story a 9 out of 10. While it's a really interesting story, I really do like it a lot. I thought it was a pretty good parody. And as for the Mysterious House series, I have never seen it, so I don't know it too much or anything, so I don't know it. And I probably have seen Holly Hobbie when I was a kid, but I probably just don't remember because it's been so long. But anyways, with that being said and that being the case, what did you guys all think of this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm Shadow the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you enjoy this channel and video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. Don't forget to follow me on my other social like Twitter, DeviantArt, and Blue Sky. Links to those will be in the About page section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as link to that will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go follow me on there. And as always, with that being said and that being the case, I'll be seeing you guys all in the next video. Peace out, and like always, roll the outro because I'm out. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.